For the latest Alien and Predator news updates, visit hybridnetworkyt.com. Hey, what's going on guys, Nick here with another alien-based theory. So this one's going to be exploring the engineers and their sort of role in the alien universe and how I think that they could have actually been tied to humanity and the ancient religious figures that existed in the early days of humankind. So in my eyes, Prometheus was kind of an exploration of the whole ancient alien theory, or the theory that basically says that primitive man or humanity was seeded here by some sort of advanced life form, an alien life form that came and visited Earth thousands of years ago and actually gave birth to humans. And that also, leaving behind their ancient technology, inspired the number of early religions that we saw throughout history. Throughout the film Prometheus, we see a bunch of different allegories and allusions to Christianity. And obviously Shaw's crucifix, the Christmas tree in the beginning of the film that's on the Prometheus ship, the day they actually choose to go to LV-223, it's right around Christmas time, which is, you know, the birth of Christ and everything. So there's all this sort of religious symbolism around the film. And eventually it's revealed in the film that the engineers had decided to wipe out humanity much later on in the film, towards the end, where we actually see that they had been basically in sleep for 2,000 years, which would place that event chain shortly after the birth of Christ in history. So the theory has been on the internet for a while that maybe Jesus himself was actually an engineer, and he was the last engineer that was actually sent to Earth as sort of one of the emissaries to see where mankind had been, because the engineers had possibly been watching us and didn't like where we were going, and he was kind of their last attempt to see if we could be changed or if we could go down a different path. And that's when he was violently sacrificed and he was crucified. And this is pretty much, I think, why the engineers wanted to attack us, and it's actually why Ridley Scott talked about it too. I think he did several interviews around the time that Prometheus had come out, basically saying that, you know, they did send one of their emissaries down and he was crucified, and it was during the Roman times or what have you, and this is why the engineers did want to wipe us out, because we had basically been like children sort of running around very violent, killing ourselves, and maybe that's kind of where, you know, we went wrong in their eyes, and that's why they wanted to wipe the slate clean using their new bioweapon to see what could happen. And Ridley did talk about it too, and further, there was a good quote from him here where he kind of talked about the engineers as not being like God themselves, but like certain like a darker god or something, and kind of like dark angels actually that you would see from John Milton's poem Paradise Lost. You know, they're sort of like the fallen angels that are kind of the main focus of that story actually. So it's interesting to note that it's sort of like saying that humanity was the offspring of the rogue angels of heaven, you know, which is a very interesting way to go about it. It's certainly steeped in sort of a religious allegory, this prequel series has been, with the engineers and all that sort of stuff. So personally, it's very interesting to me. I know that Ridley himself believes in the whole ancient alien theory just in his own personal life, so that's obviously why I think we're seeing a lot of that translated to these new films. But what do you guys think? Do you think that the engineers were sort of ancient religious figures on Earth that helped guide humanity through their early days, and actually were hoping that they could find them one day, which is why we got the murals and things like that pointing to LV-223? So one day when humankind was able to advance to a certain technology that they could actually coordinate the planet LV-223, or even Paradise, their home world, that they could actually go there and meet their creators. So all of this stuff is fairly interesting to me, and I wish that the films actually had focused more so on this kind of stuff, you know, actually delving into the engineers, their backstory, the lore behind them, because personally I think that's just vastly more interesting than sort of retreading the whole alien xenomorph thing, because we got that 4 times already, and then I guess 6 times if you count the Alien vs Predator movies as well. So leave all your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let's get a good discussion going about this. As always, thank you all for watching. My name is Nick, and for more on the Alien and Predator universe, subscribe to Hybrid Network.